We're going to start in child's pose today. So I want you to find a child's pose that works best for you. I will give us some suggestions here that works best. So we're going to get started. So I'm going to mute microphones and then we'll move on to our mats and get our bodies moving this morning. So again, a big thank you to all of you for your patience and your continued support. To all the behind the scenes work going on with Jonathan and Vicki, supporting us as well and allowing us to stay connected. So I'm very happy to be here this morning and see you all. So for child's pose, I would recommend wide V child's pose if you want to go a little bit deeper into the hips and low back. Have a prop ready for you to the front of your mat if the head doesn't easily touch the ground. So we'll open those knees nice and wide, touch the big toes together. We will try to sink our hips down to our heels here. And then we'll also be able to bring the shoulders into this pose by spreading the fingers nice and wide, walking those hands forward, and keeping your hands wider than your shoulders. As you draw the low belly in, we'll allow the belly, the heart, and the head to melt towards the ground. So this is a more active version of child's pose. We're trying to keep that extension through the arms and the elbows lifted. We do want the head to be grounded. So if your head isn't touching the floor, bend your elbows and place your forearms underneath the forehead or slide a block or some type of prop under the forehead. Those of us that puts too much compression on our knee joints, no problem. If you grabbed your pillow or a blanket or towel, simply slide it behind those knee creases to sit on, and then you can stack your arms under the head to rest. Or simply keep your hips higher up in the air in more of a puppy pose, resting down on our forearms. So I'll give us a moment to get situated. I want you to loosen up the clothing. I want you to settle down onto our mats, allow our mind to come within the four corners of our mats. Make any adjustments in the beginning so that we can find stillness in the end. And we'll take a moment to connect to our body and our breath here so that we can move safely and mindfully throughout our entire practice. So continue to let the body relax. We'll feel this stretch more through that low back, in and around the hips. As we mentally move through our body, let go of any unnecessary tension and tightness we might find, especially across the face, around those neck and shoulders. Relax through the lumbar spine, the low back, the hips, and all the way down the legs. And as we're taking some inventory this morning, as usual, if we come across any areas that we are healing, so low backs, hips, shoulders, whatever the case might be, let's pause on those areas just for a moment. Send a healing breath into them. And on our exhale, allow those areas to relax. Remembering that we each have permission to modify and adjust accordingly. We want to practice with ahimsa or non-violence towards ourselves and our body. And also bring in the quality of santosha, which means contentment. So really trying to be content wherever we are today on our mat. So as we continue to allow the body to sink towards the ground, let's now spread our awareness to the rhythm of the breath. Just observe and watch your body breathe here. We're breathing as smoothly and evenly as possible in and out through the nose. Our breath might feel a little differently in child's pose. We might feel the breath translate a little bit more to the back of the body, maybe through the front of the chest as it sinks towards the ground. But let's still notice that the body naturally expands as it breathes in fresh air, prana, and energy this morning. Fill yourself up. And the body naturally contracts as it exhales away stale old air and energy. And remember, take the time to clean everything out. The exhale is just as important. And let's all take one more complete round of breath here. On the next inhale, the head will float up and we'll bring our body back up, adjusting our body on our mats, moving right into tabletop pose. So hands, fingers spread nice and wide, hands as broad as the shoulders, stacking shoulders over wrists, press into the earth. Align your hips over your knees, a little bit of space between those knees and feet. Engage a little bit through that lower abdomen, the spine is in neutral, and be mindful of where the head is. Keep the head in line with the spine. Now maintain nice level hips and low back, and just stretch your right foot back behind you, toes are tucked under. We can shift our weight through that heel as much as we want. So this will get the blood flowing back through the legs from our compression in child's pose. Distribute the weight equally in both hands. Take another breath in. Exhale brings the right knee down. Hips and low back stay level. Give your left foot a stretch back. And again, you can shift your weight back through that heel. It's as if you're pushing it towards the ground as much as you want to intensify that stretch. Make sure you're pressing out through the first knuckles and the fingertips to take the weight out of the wrists. Breathe it in. Exhale, bring the left knee down. Re-extend the right leg straight back from the hip. So now we're going to do a little bit more strengthening and balance right away. So squeeze the right glute and low back and hover your right leg parallel to the floor. The right foot is actively flexing. The toes are pointing down to the ground. Adding that balance, extend your left arm straight forward from the shoulder, palm in, thumb up. So this pose is called spinal integration. It's a really nice way to tone the muscles around our waist, across the back, as the body tries to figure out how to balance ourselves in space from the right side to the left side. We'll take one more inhale. Exhale brings the hand and the knee back down. So there shouldn't be a big shift in the body when you drop back down. Extend the left leg back. Keep those hips level. Squeeze your left side to hover the left leg just parallel to the floor. Really flex through that left foot, pointing the toes towards the ground. Do draw into that lower belly to support the back. Right arm reaches forward from the shoulder. Palm in, thumb up. If you feel a little shaky here, totally normal. Just do your best. Give me one more deep breath in. Exhale, bring that hand and knee down. We'll take a couple rounds of Majariasana or cat-cow. If your wrists want to take a break, rise up on Hasta Bandha. So you're rounding through the knuckles of the fingertips like you're holding a big shiny apple and driving your fingertips into the ground. Another option is to make a strong punching fist and bring your knuckles into the ground. And that will help decompress those wrists and strengthen the hands and the arms a little differently. Our breath is our guide, so follow your breath. The inhale, we take a gentle back bend, lifting the tailbone, lengthening the spine up through the crown of the head into extension. Our exhale draws the belly in, it scoops the tailbone under, chin tucks towards the chest, the drishti moves to the belly button. And again, you move at your pace. The inhales are gentle back bend. This decompresses the spine, helps counter all of our sitting and rounding. The exhale stretches the muscles of the back, the low back, mid back, between the shoulder blades. Let's flow through one more of each. Try to feel a little movement around those hips, all the way up the spine. Come back to neutral spine. So we did this pose last night as well. This is called broken toe pose. It's a pretty intense pose. This pose will help stretch out the soles of the feet. So I want you to tuck your toes under and then try to sit your hips back to your heels. If this is a little much on your knees today, take a hold of your yoga mat and fold it under a few times so you get more cushion for your knees. Use your towels or blankets. If you're not compressing the knees, you can come up to a kneeling position. But the toes are tucked under and are trying to stretch out all the fascia of the feet. If you get a cramp, that's a little normal, just take a break. While we're stretching the feet, we're gonna practice what's called praying mantis to help decompress the wrists again. So you'll take your 4 fingers together, pretend like you're pinching little grains of sand from the ground, fingers to thumbs, and then you really pull your fingertips into your forearms. So I'm rounding through the wrist here, and from the front, it looks like the head and neck of a praying mantis. On the exhale, simply shake your hands out and release them back to the ground. On the inhale, pinch and pull and scoop it up. This is also pretty intense, but it's a really nice counter for that compression of the wrists. Exhale. One more. Pinch and scoop. Pull it up. Exhale. Let it go. We're going to walk back out on those hands, spread the fingers, stack the joints, flatten out the tops of the feet, and pat them out a couple times on the floor. Give them a little break. Stretch one leg back at a time, one more time to take that pressure off the knees. And then from here, we're going to walk our hands, bring both knees back down, one hand's distance forward so the arms are more at 45 degrees. So especially in the morning practices, I like to do a little bit more roly-poly movement to really get the blood flowing and help our joints loosen up for the day. So we'll do some hip rolls here to help those hips relax a little bit more. So on the exhale, just draw your hips back towards the heels. They won't touch. Sweep your hips over to the left. Roll your hips forward, shoulders coming back over the wrists. Circle them to the right and back. So you're making a circle clockwise here. And we're just trying to roll around on those hip joints, swing the hips a little bit. Now some people like to get a little bit more movement in here and kind of dip and dive through the neck and shoulders, and that can help loosen up the muscles around the shoulder girdle. Let's take one more circle this direction. Next time those hips come back towards the heels in a neutral position, we'll reverse. So you'll circle your hips to the right, roll them forward, to the left and back. And this can be a small circle. As those joints start to loosen, you can get a little bit bigger in your movement. Maybe add a little dipping and diving through the neck and shoulders. Basically, whatever feels good for your body, just let it get a little loose here. One more time around. Next time those hips come back to those heels, pause. This next inhale, we're gonna slide the body back forward into kneeling plank. So again, your shoulders should be over your wrists. The fingers are spread nice and wide. Press down through the mound of the index finger and thumbs. Tuck your toes under. Really pull in through the low belly. Pull your shoulders onto your back. Be mindful where your head is in space. Those of you that would like, float your knees up into full plank. We'll hold for one full breath. So a full breath in, full breath out. The next inhale, if you're kneeling, you'll bring your knees up, press into the ground to float your hips all the way up to the ceiling, moving into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, drop your heels back and down, downward facing dog. If you need to adjust your stance here, go ahead and do so. Have a look at your feet. They should be running parallel to each other, toes pointing straight forward, and the heels ideally disappearing equally behind the toes. Whether they touch the ground or not, doesn't matter. Don't worry about that necessarily. If you have a lot of tension in your low back or tight hamstrings, simply bend your knees deeply as you draw your belly towards your thighs. Now we will hold this pose for several deep breaths. If you have modifications or you want to take a rest, just come back down to tabletop or child's pose. Now let's start thinking about the hand placement. Hands should be equally weighted, rooting through the mound of the index finger and thumb. So there's internal rotation through the hands, but external rotation in those upper arm bones. So roll your upper arm bones away from your ears, draw those shoulder blades down the back so the neck is nice and long, head is floating. Round that low belly in, drawing the belly towards the thighs. And then on this inhale, let's float our heels up as high as we can to stretch out those feet again and get into those toe creases. Next exhale, drop your right heel down to the ground and bend your left knee. Hold this big stretch for a whole breath. Inhale, float both heels up, go as high as you can, stretch out those feet. Exhale, drop left heel down, bend the right knee. Hold for a whole breath. Inhale, both heels up, nice big stretch, those feet, round that low belly in. Exhale, sink both heels to the ground, melt the heart. Inhale, looks forward. Take your time, walking feet to hands, hands to feet. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Feet should still be parallel to each other. Nice strong legs. So we talked about this last night. Just trying to pick up your toes can help energize those legs. Feel your quads engaged. Those of us that want to modify and not be upside down anymore, bend your knees, plant your elbows on your thighs, and you can come up out of your fold a little bit. Those of us going into the deeper version, continue to have strong legs, so pull up the quads, pelvic floor lifting, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha in the lower abdomen. Take a hold of your elbows if you want more release for the neck and shoulders, or simply sway your shoulders side to side in the head and neck. We will do a little bit of back strengthening from this pose, so be mindful of any low back issues. If you are taking care of your low back, do the modified version, elbows on thighs. And on our inhale, when we do a halfway lift, you can bring your hands under your thighs and lift the back up halfway from there. Those of you further into the fold, hands to shins, lift the chest, purposely squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back and look slightly forward. We're trying to flatten out the back. Exhale, forward fold, your version. Remember, the further you go down, the more work your back has to do to bring you back up. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands to shins or higher. Pull the shoulder blades onto your back, gaze slightly forward. If you want more, locust your arms beside you, palms facing and squeezing in. You'll feel that in your triceps and upper back. Exhale, fold. Just one more. Inhale, halfway lift. Squeeze those back muscles. On the exhale, we'll sit back into Utkatasana. So you're sitting back into that invisible chair. Extend your arms forward and up. So we will hold this pose for a moment here. Again, nice strong foundation in the legs. So quads active, low belly pulling in. If you're modifying for neck and shoulders, simply bring your hands in front of the heart in prayer position. Head is always light on top of those shoulders. So I like to do balancing in my classes. We're gonna start to play with our balance a little bit more here. Focus your eyes on one spot. Find your drishti. Try to squeeze and lift your right foot from the floor. So you're just hovering on one leg here. Breathe it in. Exhale, bring the right foot down. Now squeeze and lift the left foot from the floor. Still breathing. Little hover. Breathe it in. Exhale, bring the left foot back down. Maybe sink a little lower down. Knees to toes, low belly pulls in. Next inhale, we'll take it all the way up to extended mountain. So straighten the legs, reach your arms up. Drishti can move slightly upwards. Turn your palms out and exhale, float those arms down into Tadasana. And just hold for a moment. Check in with your blood pressure, your breath. Crown of the head extending upwards, no tension in the face or the throat. Again, think about these strong legs. So if I'm just standing here and not putting effort into it, I'm locking up my knees and just kind of collapsing into my joints. But as soon as I pick up my toes, root through the mound of the big toe inner heel, mound of the pinky toe outer heel, I unlock those knees, feel like you're trying to lift your kneecaps up, lengthen that lower buttock down, pulling front body to back body. Now I'm powerful and strong, rooting into the earth so I can grow nice and tall. A little bit more balance, our palm tree pose. Turn your palms out. Inhale, draw a nice big circle out to the sides and overhead. This time bring your palms to touch and exhale the hands to heart. Again, inhale, draw that big circle. This time float the heels up, reach it up. Exhale, palms touch. Slowly try to lower the heels and the hands back to heart. 2 more times. Inhale. So this pose does help strengthen the lower legs, the ankles, and the feet. And of course, all of our balancing poses help strengthen our brain power. They improve our concentration, memory, and focus. Big inhale, reach, reach, reach. Exhale, hands to heart. and then relax for a moment. So now we're gonna make a transition to some of our larger standing poses. First one will be Prasarita Padottanasana, or our wide leg standing straddle pose. So we might need to turn ourselves on our mat so that we're facing the long edge of our mat. Place your blocks, your books, any props you might want to have in front of the body. I'm using my chair to go in and out of because I have nice tight low back and low back stuff I take care of. You'll place your props in front of you. I'm going to turn sideways so you can have a visual. That's the only reason I'm turning my chair. You want to make sure that the feet aren't slipping out on you. So we'll start by taking that nice wide stance out on our mat. Ankles as wide as the wrist possibly, so a nice wide stance. And we want to start with those feet in neutral position or parallel to each other. So your toes should actually be pointing straight forward, lateral edges of the feet running parallel to the short ends of your yoga mat. Same thing here, I have nice strong legs, rooting through the four corners of the feet, drawing my low belly in. Head is relaxed. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, take your hands to your hips and literally hold on to your hips. Find that pelvic bowl. This is where the movement happens from. We don't round into this pose. You want to keep the whole spine extended. At this point, turn your toes in slightly. So we're trying to internally rotate through the thigh bones, which encourages an anterior tilt in the hips. So legs are strong, low belly pulls in. I'm leading with my heart, but I'm not hyperextending the low back. I'm still connected to the core. On the exhale, start to pour your pelvis forward. Feel the hinge here. Pelvis rolling over those thigh bones. Come about halfway. Take another breath in. And then on the exhale, you might move a little further into your pose. So this is where you really have to just stay connected to your legs, toes up, unlock the knees. If you can keep that length in the spine on our exhales, we might have some space to drop the fingertips to your prop to the floor below. Keep your hands shoulder width apart. I usually encourage just a fingertip grip to the floor, your prop, so you're not bearing weight into your hands and you stay connected to the strength of the lower half of your body. We'll hold for several breaths. This will turn into an inversion for some of us. So again, just be mindful of any blood pressure conditions. If those muscles are stretching and lengthening, maybe walk the hands between the feet, fingertips in line with the toes. Drishti stays right underneath the nose, or we drop the head if we want to go into that fuller inversion. Depends kind of how far we are into this pose. I still want you activating the front of the legs so that we can stretch out the backs of the legs and those inner thighs and still continue to draw in through that low belly. And let's all try to take one more breath. Now the next inhale will take us into our halfway lift again. Especially if you've gone further into the fold, walk your fingertips forward, float the chest up. This will regulate our blood pressure and take some strength back into our core. On your exhale, fire up those muscles. Bring one hand at a time to your hips, and then inhale. Big breath in as you lift up through the crown of the head. Try to inhale even more as you reach your arms up overhead. Bring the palms to touch and exhale to the center. So from here, we'll move into Trikonasana. If you want to move a prop to either side of your mat, you may. We'll start with our right side, so triangle pose. So legs are still wide. We want to turn our toes now to face back forward so that they're parallel to each other and re-extend the arms. Neutral position to start. From here, pick up your right toes and turn them towards the front of your yoga mat. The thigh is opening, right knee to right toes, but keep your chest and heart open towards the long edge of your yoga mat. Same thing here in the legs. Don't let your knees just collapse. So micro bend the knees, pull up through the quadriceps. If it helps, pick up your toes and move through the four corners of the feet. So in this version, we'll take a little tip at the pelvis. So I'm drawing my right hip crease in, but I'm maintaining the length through both side bodies. So again, this band of muscles really has to work around the waist. On the inhale, extend and reach forward. On the exhale, we'll windmill our arms. Now I'm taking unsupported triangle and I don't go as far into my pose because I do take care of my low back. I'm still getting a nice stretch of the inner back thigh here. And that bottom hand is right to the inner thigh. Top arm extending up towards the ceiling. Notice where your head is in space. We want to keep the neck in line with the spine. If you're using a prop, that's fine. Remember, don't shift all your weight into that bottom hand. And then we want to feel like we're leaning against an invisible wall, pulling the left shoulders and rib cage back. Our drishti can look down, forward, or up. And we'll all try to take one more breath in the pose. Now our inhale pulls us up out of the pose. So if you are resting your hand on some type of prop, you really need to re-strengthen the legs and the core. And on the inhale, you reach up towards the ceiling to bring the body back up. Point your right toes forward, neutral position. Feet are parallel to each other. No tension in the face or neck. If you're moving a prop, go ahead and move your prop to the other side. And then we'll pick up our left toes. Spin your left toes out to the short end of the yoga mat. Roll that thigh open. So you want your knee tracking towards the center of the foot. The upper body should stay open to the long edge of the mat. Don't let those knees collapse, so pull up through the quads, pick up your toes if needed. Draw that left hip crease in. Keep the left side body nice and long. Inhale, extend. Exhale, windmill the arms. So ideally, we're pretty much in the same position on this side as we were our first side. This is where we want to be mindful that even if we can go further on one side, we should really try to be in the same place from left to right, at least in my school of thought. So sometimes one side is a little bit more open, you can go further, but to keep balance in the body, you should maybe back out a little bit today. And then we'll pretend like we're leaning into that invisible wall as we roll our torso open, drawing that right shoulder rib cage back. Keep the neck long, either looking down, forward, or upwards to the top hand. Receive that nice stretch through the inner and back thigh. One more breath in the pose. If you have your hand on a prop, you're going to need to take weight out of your hand, reestablish strength in the legs and the core if you've lost it, and the inhale pulls you up. Reach up to the ceiling. Take your time. Turn your left toes to face forward, neutral position. Take a deep breath in. And on this exhale, relax those arms. Just kind of noodle them around, roll those shoulders out. That is work for those arms as well. And then at this point, heel toe, step, step, step those feet back in to parallel. So I think we have time. We'll do one more bigger standing pose. This is Parsvottanasana, sometimes referred to as pyramid pose. Again, you might need to readjust yourself on your yoga mat. You're going to want your feet to run parallel in Tadasana and have space behind you so that your feet are gripping. Again, I'm going to have a chair in front of me for my support. Place 2 yoga blocks or props in front of you if you're using those. So we'll start in Tadasana with the feet parallel, ears over shoulders and shoulders over hips. Strong legs, pick up your toes to fire them up. Pretend like you're trying to lift your kneecaps up. Root that lower buttock to the ground, pulling front body to back body. From here, take a hold of your hip bones again. So I'm holding onto my hips. I want to keep my hips facing straight forward. Pick up that right foot and step it back a couple feet behind you. In that same line, we're not standing on a tightrope. I have a little bit of space between my feet. I'll allow my right toes to angle out slightly, maybe 15, 20 degrees. Same thing in the legs. Don't jam your knees back. Unlock the knees, pull up through the quads. Right hip forward, left hip back. I'm leading with the heart. I'm pouring from the pelvis again, but I want to stay connected to the core. So take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, I'm trying to tip my pelvis forward. Low back people, you don't have to go very far. Okay, just really make sure you're pulling in through that low belly. What we'll start feeling is a stretch up the back of our left leg. Come about halfway. Try to keep your hips and low back as level as possible. On the exhale, maybe go a little bit further. So some of you, like me, I don't have to go very far to get a really big stretch of the back of the leg, especially first thing in the morning, unless you've already gone for a walk or have been moving around. I haven't. Those of you that have the space and flexibility, you can maintain your alignment. Fingertips can come back down to those props or towards the floor. Continue to try to create as much length through the front of the spine as we have in the back of the spine. Now, eventually, some of us will start drawing belly to thigh, drishti to the big toe. You might play with shifting your weight just slightly into the front foot and back foot. We are trying to keep the feet equally weighted, or a little bit to the right or to the left, but we really want to try to maintain a nice level low back and hips. Those of you that have moved a little bit further into the posture here, there eventually is a little bit of rounding for the spine just to stretch the connective tissue running up the back. So if you're further into it, belly's on the thigh, you apply Jalandhara Bandha, throat lock, chin to chest, and you try to bring your forehead towards your knee. A little bit more challenging to breathe there, so just take little sips of air through the nose. And we'll all try one more breath in our pose. Next inhale, halfway lift, especially if you went further into it. Find your fingertips. Lift the chest up a little bit. You take care of your low back. Use the support of your props. So it's really important that our legs are strong, belly's in. On the exhale, one hand at a time to each hip. Press off your front foot and inhale up to the crown of the head. And if you're in that inversion, again, make sure you're inhaling to come up. If you get lightheaded, sit down on the ground. Right foot steps forward. Tadasana. Extend your fingertips down. And just pause for a moment. We'll notice the effects that that posture had on our body, our breath, and the brain. And then we let it go. Hands back to hips. Hips stay squaring to the front. Pick up your left foot and step it back in that same line from your hip, a couple feet behind you. Let the left toes turn up just ever so slightly. But then we want to bring the left hip forward, right hip back again. Don't jam up through the kneecaps and hyperextend. Unlock the knees. Pick up those toes as much as you can in this pose. Draw the low belly in as you root the tail to the floor. So I'm leading with the heart, but I'm not overarching my low back. I stay connected here. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, pour from the pelvis. Take your time to go into the pose. Maybe come down just a little bit or about halfway. Breathe it in. And then exhale, maybe we move another centimeter or two. All depends on our body and our breath. So for me personally, this side is a lot tighter. So if you notice that one side feels a lot tighter than the other, again, very normal. Just make a mental note of that in your practice. If you were doing your home practice, we would hold our tighter side longer and maybe do it twice. We'll let our breath be our guide here. Those of you that might be moving a little further into the pose, don't collapse the alignment through the spine. Keep both feet actively engaged. Maybe play a little bit with how you're holding your weight in the feet, ideally equal weight in the feet. Your hips and low back stay nice and level. Big stretch up the back of that right leg. If you happen to be bringing the hands towards the ground and drawing the belly towards the thigh, eventually, Jalandhara Bandha, throat block, chin to chest, forehead to knee, little sips of air through the nose. One more breath in the pose. Our inhale brings us back to halfway lift. Chest up, fingertips if you're further into it. Super strong legs, so just unclench or fire up the thighs. Lift the toes. Pull that low belly in. Exhale, one hand at a time to those hips. And then press off that front foot as we inhale to come all the way back up to the crown of the head. Exhale, left foot steps forward. Tadasana. Extend the arms out. Just pause. Observe. Breathe it in. And then exhale, let it go. So we'll move our props out of the way. We'll do one more balancing pose here. So we want to be in a safe space on our mat or in our space. And we've been practicing Vrikshasana or tree pose. You're always welcome if you have a wall or again, a chair next to you to use that as a little bit of support. So Vrikshasana or tree pose, we actually want to start with the insides of the feet and legs touching. Compact those hips. Pull up to those lower bandhas. So squeeze up through the pelvic floor muscles and lower abdominal muscles. Relax the head on the shoulders. Take an inhale as you draw a nice big circle overhead. Bring those palms to touch and exhale the hands to the heart. From here, hover the right heel. Open the right knee out from the hip. Lots of options. Keep your foot to the floor. Float the foot to the inner ankle or calf. Avoid pressing the foot into the standing knee. If you'd like to reach down and bring the foot up to the inner thigh, feel free to do so. Steady your gaze, drishti on one spot. If we fall out of the pose, we just come back to it, no judgment. Remember santosha, contentment. Little variation in the arms. One is to float the arms overhead, extend the fingertips up, but continue to relax the head and the neck. And a little variation for those shoulders, bring the arms behind the back, interweave all 10 fingers, and add that chest expansion. So I'm reaching the knuckles towards the ground, extending the crown of the head up. One more breath. Next inhale, reaches the arms back up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands to heart. From here, try to point the knee straight forward. Lift the thigh bone up. Again, using the strength of the core, try to extend the foot straight forward and hold for 3, 2, 1. Samastitihi. You lower the foot back down where you started and try not to fidget. Just pause, find stillness. Keep your focus. Other side, left heel up. At the hip, open the knee up. Same thing, ideally we're trying to find symmetry. So wherever we placed our first foot, we want to place this foot in the exact same position. If it doesn't go there, we need to readjust next time around. Holding here are variations in the arms, reaching the arms up. Or adding our chest expansion, exhale, bring the hands behind you, try to interweave them the opposite way. Draw the shoulder blades down, knuckles reach to the floor, crown of the head extends upwards. One more breath. Inhale, draws the arms all the way back up. Exhale, hands to center. Point the knee forward, float the thigh bone up. Extend the foot forward for 3, 2, 1. Lower the foot down, Samastitihi, standing stillness. Pause here for a moment. Take a nice deep breath in. And on the exhale, let it go. So we'll make a transition here. We'll move into plank pose, do a little bit of core strengthening. Then we're gonna get into a big shoulder stretch. So if you need to rearrange yourself in your space, I want us to come back towards the front of our mats, if we're on a mat, and standing in Tadasana again. So feet are parallel. Unlock those knees, no jamming of the knee joints. Pick up your toes. As you pick up your toes, you're rooting through the mound of the big toe, inner heel, mound of the pinky toe, outer heel. You can open up and lengthen down through the inner groin to the inner heels and then compact up through the hips. Front body to back body, lengthen that lower buttock to the ground. Let the heart open and let the head and neck be floating on top of those shoulders, nice and relaxed. Turn the palms out, inhale, extend your fingertips out to the sides of the room and all the way overhead, extended mountain. Feel free to take your drishti upwards to your thumbs for a gentle back bend. On this exhale, micro bend your knees, swan dive your arms wide, moving back to forward fold. If you're taking care of the low back, stop here, halfway. Those of you that want to take it back down into Uttanasana, continue to release the head, the arms, and shoulders. Prance the legs, one leg at a time to go back into that deeper stretch up the backs of the legs. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins or higher, open the heart, engage the upper back. So this exhale, however you can move there safely, is up to you. Bending the knees, planting the hands is an option, and then taking one foot back at a time and finding our plank pose. Shoulders over wrists, spread the fingers wide. Kneeling plank is totally fine. Just continue to scoop that tailbone under, press into the earth. Too much for our wrists. Drop down onto your forearms, interweave all 10 fingers, forearm plank, kneeling or full. Smile, we're all gonna do this together. And at this point, we're gonna hold for another 30 seconds. So press into the earth, squeeze the buttock, feel your whole body getting super strong here. Nice, powerful breath, in and out through the nose. We can do this. You'll feel those muscles start to quiver a little bit, totally normal. Don't compromise the low back, so modify and take breaks as needed. We're already almost there. Just give me one more breath. Deep breath in, deep breath out. One more inhale. And on our exhale, we are going to come all the way down to our belly. So if you're already in forearm plank, you can just drop to the knees, relax the belly. If you're in full plank and you want to, you can move through Chaturanga Dandasana, drawing the elbows back and slowly lowering down to the ground. Turn the hands in, Makarasana, one hand on top of the other. Relax your feet. So turn the toes in, let your heels flop open. We'll either turn your head to one side or forehead to your hands. And let's just pause. Again, notice the effects that that pose had on the body. Plank poses are energizing postures. Your heart rate might have gone up a little bit. Your breath might have changed a little bit. And then just let it go. Just breathe. So we did this big shoulder stretch last night. It's a pretty big stretch. It feels quite nice, but don't force anything. If you're grunting, if your breath, you're unable to breathe in a pose, you should probably come out of it. So we want to be kind to our body. And you could just go a little bit more gently as well. And I'll go through the different steps of this posture. So from a relaxed position, we'll start with the right arm. You will stretch your right arm straight up from your shoulder to the ground. So the palm is down. Let me scooch over a little bit. The left hand is going to come down to the ground in front of the left shoulder. And I'm going to roll onto my right side. So I'm pressing into the ground and I'm starting to roll to the right. Now, if the head does not feel comfortable, kind of getting a stretch there, place a towel or a prop by your right shoulder so that when you roll onto your right side, your head has something to rest on. Now, you might just go a little bit. If you want to intensify the stretch, I'm going to roll all the way to my right so that my left leg is on top of my right leg. So I'm stretching the whole front of the shoulder and the chest here. Again, don't force anything. We can take it another step by bending the left knee up towards the ceiling and planting the sole of the left foot behind the right leg. Another step further is to bend the right knee up to the ceiling as if your legs were in bridge pose. I don't get as much out of the pose if I do that. It's just too awkward for me. So I keep my right leg straight, my left knee bent up. There's one more option here to add a chest expansion. The left arm reaches up, palm down, At that point, you flip your right palm up and you interweave all 10 fingers behind you. Now, if that seems like a far ways away, it is. The only place I have any natural flexibility is around my shoulders. Everything else is tight as concrete, but don't force it. Face should stay relaxed. The breath should stay even and smooth. We'll all try to hold this nice big chest shoulder stretch for one more breath. Feels good. So on our next exhale, we need to bring that left hand back down to the ground in front of us. Roll yourself back onto your belly, so straighten out the legs. This time we'll take 4 full crocodile pose, excuse me. So both arms reach out in front of you on the floor. Hands come into prayer position. You drop the forehead to the ground. You can inch your elbows a little bit more forward and just do a gentle rock side to side. So let's give it a go on the other side. Remember, if you have a shoulder injury or something you're taking care of, don't force through any pain. This should feel quite nice, actually. Maybe intense, but it should feel good. Left arm reaches right up from the shoulder. Palm down to start. Right hand to the ground in front of the right shoulder. And then we're gonna roll onto our left, trying to stack the hips. If that's a little bit much, you don't need to go that far. You can just press into the ground a little bit. You'll still get that stretch to the shoulder. If you're stacking the body and you need support for the head, slide a pillow, whatever prop you have. A little bit of balance work. If you want to try bending the right knee up to the ceiling, you plant the foot behind you. That will intensify the stretch. You can try to bend the left knee up towards the ceiling as well. I just don't like how that feels. Another option is to reach your right arm up to the ceiling, palm faces down. At that point, you flip the left palm up and you interweave all 10 fingers behind you, maybe. Wherever we are, one more breath, focus on the exhale. Letting go of any tension or tightness we might find. The inhale will bring the right arm back up, right hand to the floor. We have to unwind our body back to where we started. Take your time. We're rolling all the way back onto the belly. Big toes touch, heels flop open. Both arms reach forward into full crocodile pose, hands in prayer position. The head can drop down. You can swim the nose of your crocodile a little bit more forward, and you can rock just very gently through the whole body and across the forehead. To come up, walk your hands underneath your shoulders. So we just gave those shoulders a nice big stretch. Make sure you're squeezing the muscles to the bone. Tuck the toes under, tuck the tailbone under, draw that low belly in, and as best as you can, push your body back up. From here, we're gonna come back to child's pose. More traditional version is to keep the knees together, pull in through the low belly to protect the back. Take your version, heels to hips or heels up in the air. You can try to extend the hands forward, but this version is a nice way to release the shoulders if you slide your hands all the way back to your feet and then bow the head towards the ground. If it's hard to get the head to touch, stack your forearms or one fist on top of the other on top of the forehead. And we'll hold for a couple breaths to let the lumbar spine, the muscles around the lumbar spine, get a nice stretch. And if your hands are to your feet, just drop the weight of your arms beside you. And then hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin. Those of us that are able to will round up through the spine, sitting back on the heels, or you'll transition through tabletop pose. Once you sit back up on those heels to the crown of the head, Drop over to either hip, and we'll bring our feet forward in front of us. So from here, I want to get into a little bit more work actually on our back. So we'll go right onto our backs today so we can get into some more hip stuff as well. So if you need to rearrange yourself on your mat, do so. You want some space behind you. Safest way to come to the floor if you're taking care of your low back, again, is to drop to one hip. Walk your hands down and then roll onto your back. You can hang out there getting comfy. Those of us who want to bring this little element of strengthening for the abdominals, again, we can do a slow roll down. Not for low back people, so be mindful. If you want to join me for the slow roll down, plant the soles of the feet to the front of the mat. We let our knees fall open a little wider than the hips. There is rounding of the spine here, so we'll articulate through the joints. Extend the fingertips forward. I'm hollowing out my front body, so really pulling those abdominal muscles in. Scoop the tailbone under, and I'm going to try to slowly come down. So rolling onto the sacrum, the low flat part of the back. Rolling through the lower lumbar, the mid back. The tips of the shoulder blades will touch down, the shoulders, and the head. Once we get here, long body stretch. Reach your arms overhead. Straighten your legs out on the mat. Spread your fingers, spread your toes. Take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, float those arms down beside you. Walk the shoulder blades under. Walk the feet in. So loosen things up as needed. You want to get comfortable. You want that low back lengthening out. If you have ponytails, you need to move them out of the way so the head doesn't get twisted. And then draw your knees into the body. We can rock side to side here. Keep your feet parallel to each other. Extend both legs up into waterfall pose. Hold behind the thighs, point and flex your feet. Wonderful inversion. This pose helps reduce anxiety and stress levels. It improves our quality of sleep. It improves our circulation, so it helps prevent varicose and spider veins, which is not just an aesthetic thing. And it also takes pressure off all those leg joints, the knees, the ankles, and the feet that gravity puts pressure on throughout our day. Now hold on to the outer thighs, Supta Konasana. Inhale, open your legs into that nice V stretch. Elbows to the ground, hold onto your legs to give them some support. Roll your ankles a few times. Deeper stretch, hands move to the inside. Try to press your heels out, opening up the eyes of the knees. Massage up and down those inner thighs. Keep your low back sinking to the ground as gravity helps stretch out those inner thigh and growing muscles. From here, bend your knees, drawing the soles of the feet together. Reach your hands between your legs and try to take a hold of your feet or your ankles. So Supta Baddha Konasana, reclining bound angle pose. I'm trying to draw the soles of the feet together, gently encourage my heels towards the pubic bone. I'm using my elbows to draw my thighs open nice and wide. From here, take a hold of just the feet or try your yogi toe grip. The yogi toe grip is a peace symbol in both hands. You glue the index finger and middle fingers together. You turn the palms in. You slide those two fingers right between the big toe and the second toe. The ring finger and the pinky rest on the front knuckle, and your thumb rests right on the tip of the big toe. And you lock that grip in. Or just hold onto your feet or your outer thighs. On the inhale, try to stretch one leg out about 45 degrees, press out through the heel. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale, try the right leg, stretch it out. Exhale, bring it back. Do one more single leg out or with your yogi toe grip. Inhale back out to Supta Konasana, wide angled stretch. So we did this pose standing. This is the reclining version of this pose. We didn't take the yogi toe grip in our standing version. Well, maybe you did, but I did it. So those of us that can't get as far in our standing poses to get into these deeper stretches because of low backs, these are really nice alternatives. Give me one more big breath in. Now on the exhale, release your toes if you have them and try to squeeze your legs back up to waterfall pose. Drop those knees in. Spinal twist. Glue your knees together, feet are parallel. Reach both arms out from your shoulders, palms down. On the exhale, lower both knees to the right. Slide a prop underneath that bottom thigh if they don't easily touch. Sink your left shoulder back down into the ground. Place right hand on top thigh to deepen the stretch. Turn the head to the left to counter twist the neck. And we will hold this twist for several deep breaths here, just allowing gravity to help bring everything up. Even closing our eyes here, just relax. Relax the face, the throat, and the shoulders. One more breath in our spinal twist. On the exhale, see what you can let go of. The inhale will bring the head and the knees back to neutral. Feel free to float one knee up at a time. Some of us might want to do a little shift before we go to the other side. Knees glued together, feet parallel, arms extended out. Exhale, lower the knees over to the right. Use your props under the thigh bones. Sink the right shoulder into the ground. Turn the head to the right to counter twist the neck. Place left hand on top thigh to deepen the twist. And then soften the eyes, feel the weight of the body sink into the earth. Every exhale is an opportunity to let go of any tension in the body, any stress we've been carrying around. Bring it out. One more deep breath in the pose, last chance. Exhale it all away. The inhale will float the head and the knees back up to neutral. Realign as needed. This exhale, let's wrap those arms around the shin bones. Go as far as you can. Take a hold of opposite elbows or wrists. Floating the head up, nose towards the knees to stretch out the upper back here in between the shoulder blades. Giving our bodies and ourselves a great big hug, filling ourselves up with gratitude and appreciation for everything our body just gave for us. Breathe it in. And on our exhale, we're gonna let it all go. So give us a few options for final relaxation. If you have a favorite place to be, feel free to go there. Some people might be comfortable right where we are, flat to the floor. We just want to draw those shoulder blades under. Let the arms roll open, palms up. If you are taking care of low backs, keep your knees bent up to the ceiling. Open your feet a little wider than the hips, turn the toes slightly in, and let the weight of the knees drop together. That can help take pressure out of the low back. Those of us that want to continue to open up through the hips, soles of the feet touch, knees fall open in Baddha Konasana, or extend those legs all the way out nice and wide into Shavasana. Now, if we took the time to gather up props, I would recommend them. A big pillow underneath the legs, whether your feet are bent up, or to support the legs in Baddha Konasana, or to draw your knees over in Shavasana. If the head is falling back, Bring a towel, a blanket, or a little pillow under the back of the head. If you have an eye covering to gently rest on top of the eyes to help the body relax, go ahead and add your eye covering. So give us a moment to get comfortable here, loosen things up. Remember that we want to put just as much effort going into this pose as we did every other posture we just practiced. This takes awareness and mindfulness. We want to find symmetry in our body, left to right, front to back. Placing our body intelligently here on the floor on our props. I'll guide us through a little bit of verbal relaxation. Give us several moments of peace and quiet. Then I'll use my singing bowl to bring us out to finish class together today. Once we find our comfortable place, let the weight of the body sink into the ground. Let go of trying to control the body. Let go of trying to control the breath. Smooth the skin of the brow, the forehead. Relax the eyebrow center and allow the mind's eye to rest at the third eye center, the space between the brow. With the lips softly touching, release the lower jaw and the root of tongue to gravity. Relax the outer ears. Relax the inner ears. Relax the throat. Feel the weight of the arms sink into the ground as we relax from the shoulders to the elbows, elbows to the wrists. Relax the fingertips and notice the energy at the centers of the palms. Soften the heart and across the chest. Relax the belly completely, all of the abdominal muscles and internal organs. We might notice a very subtle rise and fall of the belly with the easy breath. Relax down the back, between the shoulder blades, vertebra by vertebra. Release the low back into the ground. Relax the larger muscles of the buttocks, the hips, the hip sockets, the tops and backs of the thighs. Feel the weight of the legs sink into the earth, relaxing from the hips to the knees, knees to ankles. Relax the feet and all of the toes. Notice the energy at the soles of the feet. Relax the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath. Or again, rest the mind's eye at the third eye center. Giving ourselves just one more moment this morning to let go. to feel a sense of surrender and to sink into Shavasana. We'll slowly start to come back to our breath. Breathing life gently back into the body, waking up the toes, waking up the fingertips. Gently rock the head side to side, roll the ankles and the wrists. Depending where we are with our props in our body, next inhale brings us back to long body stretch, re-extending the arms overhead, straightening the legs out on our mat, spreading the fingers and the toes, and trying to create as much space in our body as we can. Lengthen and stretch out the right side. Lengthen and stretch out the left side. Big breath in to stretch the whole body out, front to back, side to side. Exhale, floats the arms back down beside the body. Walk the feet in. Draw the belly in to hug the knees back into the body, rocking side to side to massage the back. Right arm falls beside the head. We roll and pause on our right hand side in Supta Balasana, sleeping baby pose for a moment. Resting the head on the arm, left hand falls to the floor in front of the heart. Taking a moment to reflect on our practice this morning. And maybe setting a positive intention or mantra to take with us off our mat into our day. Keep the eyes soft or closed, press into the ground, extend the top leg to the front of the mat to help the body come up. We will come into any comfortable seated posture, Sukhasana, whatever, which way feels best for your body. Sitting up nice and tall on our sit bones, lengthening the crown of the head up to the ceiling, and being mindful of the space around us. We'll take just a couple more nice deep breaths together. Extending the arms out to the sides of the body, turn the palms up. Deep breath in, float those arms all the way up to the ceiling, and let's gather up everything we need for the rest of this beautiful day. Turn the palms back out, even bigger breath out, float the fingertips all the way back down to the floor, letting go of all that other junk that we don't need today. And let's take one more big breath in together, reaching those arms up. Palms touch. Exhale, hands in front of the heart into Anjali Mudra. Humbly bow the head to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and remembering to be grateful and thankful to anyone else that made it possible for us all to practice our yoga together today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace.